this is something that Motch linked to me, and UK based, but I think it's applicable in general. Let's have a little look at this. This is probably a lot of cringe, and if I don't have much to say about it, I will just move on.
आप भी 518 पाउंड्स पर मंथ क्लेम कर सकते हैं यूके गवर्नमेंट से अगर आप खराटे लेते हो मतलब साउंड करता है.
Oh, he's speaking foreignese. He's saying if you snore, the UK government will pay you £518 a month. Now, I'm skeptical of that claim. Now, the corollary of having a more integrated collectivist society here compared to the US, which is very libertarian by comparison, is that the government will chip out some of that taxpayer money to you if they think you need it. Not saying that's right, but it's a different balance. So they do give out money to people if they, for example, like you shouldn't be expected to be as able to pay as much taxes if you have some sort of disability. And I think there's something about that, some degree of fairness to that. But the snoring thing, I don't know what that's from. There's probably a lot more to it than that. But this is apparently advice from an Indian on how to sponge benefits from the UK government. And this is the kind of thing where even the Tories could make a difference. Because like austerity and reducing benefits, Labour would just explode this stuff. They just expand it like crazy.
पर मंथ क्लेम कर सकते हैं यूके गवर्नमेंट से अगर आप खराटे लेते हो मतलब साउंड करता है क्रेजी थोड़ा है ना. इफ यू आल्सो स्नोर्स यू कैन क्लेम 518 पाउंड्स पर मंथ फ्रॉम यूके गवर्नमेंट. लेकिन क्यों खराटे तो सब लेते हैं लेकिन इट कैन बी कंसीडर्ड एज अ डिसेबिलिटी इफ इट इज एसोसिएटेड विद अ वेरी सीरियस
health condition,
जिसके लिए आपको अपने जीपी से थोड़ा क्या कहते हैं असेसमेंट कराना है.
Doctor's diagnosis to claim this, he says, for sleep apnea.
इसके सिम्टम्स क्या होते हैं कि आपको सांस लेने में दिक्कत है, रात को आपको चोकिंग हो रही है, गैस्पिंग हो रही है. इट इज कंसीडर्ड एज ए डिसेबिलिटी क्योंकि ये आपके अगले दिन की लाइफ.
I think he's suggesting that you would fake it. This is called fraud.
को आपके अगले दिन के काम को दिनचर्या को अफेक्ट करता है. आप अच्छे से अपना काम पे फोकस नहीं कर सकते, आप टायर्ड रहो.
Yeah, let me reiterate something I've said often in the past. Our societies are built to depend upon most people being generally good and honest and decent. Now, is that a sensible way to build a society? Is that a safe and ironclad? Not necessarily, no. But it is a optimized way to build a society for making progress today. If you went the slower method, evolution doesn't favor it. It is less volatile, but evolution kind of likes volatility. So it favors something like living a bit closer to the edge. So yes, our societies are optimized towards everyone being nice and decent. But historically, that's been largely true. Even up until the last few decades, that's been largely true. It's only in the last decade it's become really untrue. Indeed, Max, it is rather disgusting. Indeed, Jack, that is literally what a high trust society is. But Indians, Africans, and Middle Easterners come from a low trust society. And so they get here and it's in their nature. For most of them, not all by any means, but for most of them, it's natural for them to think, no one's going to help me. No one's going to treat me properly. No one is going to be decent or honest or nice to me. No one's going to give me what I need to get forward in life. I, like everyone else, have to scrounge and steal and grift and take everything I can in order to survive. And that's not something they think consciously. That's a mentality they have from who they are. Because in these countries, they are low trust societies. Because they're poorer, because they're different genetics, different history. I'm not saying that's necessarily wrong, but I am saying that's wrong. I'm not saying it always has to be, but I think in practice it is. It's a worse way to run a society. But it's the way they have, and they come over here, and it just doesn't fit. The thing is that high trust societies, when they're functioning properly, are much more powerful than low trust societies. But they are vulnerable to low trust. It's sort of like a rock, paper, scissors. The artifacts of a high trust society are the scissors, and then low trust societies are paper, but low trust people moved into a high trust society are rock. So it's that way around, sort of. And so that's the strategy that was used. And that's our society's greatest weaknesses, is they're too decent because we're used to everyone in our societies being high trust. And then you get people like this. I mean, this is fraud. He should be prosecuted and possibly go to prison for this. And have his benefits taken away forever, at the very least. To use guns on rocks. You have to have the will to use overwhelming force, and the will is what we're missing in the world today, sadly. And not necessarily to use overwhelming force, just the will to do the right thing.
Okay. तो यहाँ पे आपके टैक्स जा रहे हैं, है ना? तो वो बातें चलो बाद की बातें हैं. आप 172 पाउंड जो है अपना पर वीक क्लेम कर सकते हो, और एडिशनल 140 इंडिपेंडेंस बेनिफिट्स वो भी पर मंथ.
Why is it euros there? 172 a week. Probably about right. I've known people in the past that have done this. Probably about right.
Additional 140.
Oh, Ronald, yeah. I mean, again, like, if he's going to be committing a crime, and if he's an immigrant, if he's any less than third generation, then yes, he should also be deported. Like, that should be a natural assumption that any immigrant who commits a crime should be deported. Yeah, don't. I suppose I shouldn't have said prison. Yeah, I wasn't thinking about that. Fair enough.
इंडिपेंडेंस बेनिफिट्स वो भी पर मंथ क्लेम कर सकते हो. आपको कुछ नहीं करना है, वर्क एंड पेंशन डिपार्टमेंट पे फोन करके बोलना है कि मेरे जीपी ने असेसमेंट कर दिया, मेरे को रात को खर्राटे आते हैं, तो मेरे को 518 पाउंड दे दो. अगर आपको भी ऐसी मनी सेविंग और ऐसी इंटरेस्ट
money saving tips, money scrounging tips, like there's always been the suspicion that there's been a sort of underclass of British society who are sponges. And whenever they would have a chance to be depicted, of course, it would always be a white family in media, even as far back as my childhood. But as far as I know, that's largely a myth. They do exist, but they're a pretty small proportion. We've had systems like this for about 100 years, and it's only really become a real problem in the last 10. And the reason why is because the sponger class is actually not British people, it's foreigners. So if it says anytime I've applied for something that I should be eligible for, the government says no. It may be that these people are just putting all that time and effort into finding the way around the system. It may be also, I'm not saying this is not possible, that the system itself is favouring foreigners. Wouldn't be surprised. I'm not sure it's necessary to explain this, but I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, true, Xiphos. You can handle welfare if the people can be shamed into not using it unless absolutely necessary. Migrants don't give a shit. That's why they take it. Yeah. Max, I think that's correct. Yes. Zorg says he is acting in the interest of his group. A purely selfish man wouldn't make this video. His group has a similarity that we aren't allowed to talk about. Perhaps defense from that could be along the same lines. So Zorg, I can see where you're coming from. It might be that he's acting in his own interest insofar as he makes a lot more money from these videos than he does from benefits. Thus, it would be individually selfish. I'm not saying you're wrong at all, just an opposing theory there. However, yes, low-trust societies, people tend to be more collectivist. That would do it. Easy as that. The Indian I game with is a hotelier, hasn't shit on my street once. Yeah, there you go. So, obviously, it's not all of them.